Well, hold on to your seat, cheeks. If Game 1 is any indication of how the rest of the finals are going to go, it's going to be quite a roller coaster. Every quarter was a completely different story. Celtics Warriors in a riveting Game 1.
All my blessings, 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 all my blessings.
I need my blessings every penny, daily counting every single one, I'm seeing plenty. Level up and watch that beater turn into a Bentley. See I'm stunning something, all I'm thinking, please don't tell me. Oh boy, she was seeing you.
The Warriors in the finals again, this time in their new arena in San Francisco, the 6th time in the finals in 8 seasons after taking a couple years off due to injuries and of course missing due to the play-in loss against the Grizzlies, I believe, last season. So the band is back again, Curry, Clay, and Draymond Green. This group has not lost a home playoff game up until tonight, that was. But the Boston Celtics were 7-2 on the road coming in. So the first quarter was a little weird early. Tatum airballed a 3 and missed his first 2 free throws, and that would certainly be indicative of the type of night that he was going to have. Marcus Smart was shooting early. He was 2 for 4 from 3. Al Horford was 1 for 2 from 3. So they were out of the Tatum offensive aggressiveness early, and a couple guys shooting threes that you don't necessarily want taking those early shots, but nevertheless, that was the case. Curry had 11 early. He was 3 for 4 from 3. Had a vintage kind of behind the back pass to Klay Thompson to set up a 3-pointer where he didn't even look back to see if Klay hit the shot. He just starts shooting down the court to the other end. That classic 3-point setup that we recall from years past. The Celtics defense left him open multiple times to get him cooking in the first quarter. The defense really just looked lost at time. It was 20-14 Golden State going into the first TV timeout. Coming out of that, Jaylen Brown got himself going a little bit. He had a nice block on one end, then running back in transition, he got the ball back, had a nice dunk, and then followed that up with a 3-ball of his own. There were 3 or 4 air balls by the Celtics in the first quarter, so just a rough go for those guys in general. And Tatum again, tough end on the offense. Iguodala entered late in the first quarter. He'd been out since the round 1 Denver series with an injury and was promptly kicked, looked like in the groin, somewhere between the groin and the belly button, in fouling Tatum. So he ended up hitting a couple shots for the game, but only hit the court for a few minutes. It was 32-28 at the end of the first quarter. So 4-point Golden State lead. Steph was hot. 21 points for Steph Curry, who was 6 for 7 from 3 outside of a half-court heave at the buzzer, which technically hit his tally, so he was 6 for 8 on the box score. The Celtics were begging for anyone else to shoot. Draymond was 0 for 5 and left open for threes multiple times, and that would also be a trend and a foreshadowing through the rest of the game. And an open as in, if he's standing in the corner, we are walking away. We are making sure to double staff or attack whoever else has the ball. We're just leaving Draymond wide open. Jordan Poole hit the floor as well. He was getting pushed around multiple times where he was pushed after handing the ball off and trying to roll out, and just ended up a mess for a good chunk of the game. So they'll have to figure out how to get him going, or maybe they won't. I'm not sure if the spotlight is too much for him. He did get a couple good passes going later in the game, but I don't know. He was a loss for a good chunk of the game. The Warriors did crush the offensive boards. They did have an advantage there, which certainly helped them for the first 3 quarters. The Celtics ended up with 6 players scoring in the first, and everyone outside Robert Williams really helping with the 3-ball. The beginning of the second was a shooting gallery to start with. The teams were combined 17 for 34 from 3. It's 50% on the dot. 9 guys, each with a 3-ball at the first timeout halfway through the second, which is pretty crazy considering Curry himself was 6 for 8 or 6 for 7 outside of that half-court heave, and took his normal rest at the beginning of the second quarter there. So he wasn't putting up any more 3-pointers at that period. Outside of Steph, the offense seemed really stagnant for the Warriors. I wasn't sure who was going to score coming in the series, who you were really frightened of when Steph's not out on the floor, who's really a terrifying threat for the Warriors. When you have all these defensive bodies you can throw at people, it sure seems like the Warriors are going to struggle to score at times, and it certainly seemed to be a bit of a case at periods here. Both teams did end up going on a run in the second. The Warriors an 8-0 run to open up a 10-point lead, mostly with Steph on the bench, and the Celtics turned around with a 10-0 run and tied it at 47 points. Part of that was when he jumped back on the field, back on the court. Tatum looked very tentative and like he could have grabbed the reins several times offensively for this game. Curry, was switched on to him defensively several times, and they didn't bring help till late. So he could have taken a shot over Curry. He could have pushed Curry, bullied him down in the paint several times, and the Warriors just kind of let it ride. So he was not a major threat for them, as Curry was just left multiple times one-on-one with him several plays in a row, actually. Curry did pick up his 3rd foul in the final minute before the half that sent him to the bench and Poole back on. This wouldn't end up being a big deal, but he was certainly frustrated at the time. He was 0 for 2 shooting in the second quarter, had 0 points after 21 in the first quarter, and Poole fittingly took the last shot before the half ended, and that bounced off the top of the backboard. And so that's about how his night was going. Splash Brothers were not all on board here. The pool party was not on full display here. So 56-54 Celtics was the halftime lead. 20 combined 3-pointers in the first half, a record for a finals game in a half. After Steph, who of course had that 21 points in the first quarter, it was Otto Porter with 9 points on 3 of 3 shooting from 3. He was the second leading scorer for the Warriors. Wiggins and Klay Thompson each had 8 points on 4 of 9 and 3 of 8 shooting, respectively. Jaylen Brown had 12 points on 5 of 13 shooting for the Celtics, but he was 0 for 4 from 3. Smart had 10. Horford, Derek White, and Jason Tatum each had 8. Tatum was only 2 for 9 from the field. He did have 7 assists, so he was helping out a bit, not forcing a shot too much, although you would like to see him be more aggressive and kind of figure it out if he's supposed to be the all-star, superstar, top 10 type player that he's kind of looked like and evolved into throughout these playoffs. But there's been times where he's just kind of dead on the vine and just not very productive and can't quite problem solve how to get his shot, which is really what you need from a top player in the NBA. Both teams were shooting over 45% from the field. They were combined 20 of 45 from 3. Only 10 free throws were taken, so there was some physical play, not as much as some of the earlier series. The Warriors-Grizzlies was physical. Almost every series that the Celtics have been in has been physical. The Bucks, certainly the Heat. So only 10 free throws as guys got to the line in the first half. So as I believe Stephen A. said at halftime, you're terrified if you're the Warriors at the half, and you absolutely should be. You've got your star offensive player who went completely cold in the second half and is very frustrated. You're generally not actually worried about foul trouble at 3 fouls in the first half. Those issues rarely start to come up towards the back end of the game, especially with guard play and especially the way Steph Curry plays. So it especially irks me watching basketball games. College is a little different when defenders get a little handsy and make some dumb plays. but I'm generally a player guys with fouls, and even though it will be mentioned on the broadcast, it doesn't always turn out to be such a big deal, and it didn't in this case. But you still certainly have to be worried if you're the Warriors, and you have to feel pretty confident if you're the Boston Celtics, who have to be in a great mental state with Tatum playing so horribly, but getting contributions from everyone else, shooting the 3-ball well, getting crushed on the offensive boards. The discrepancy wasn't atrocious in the game, but even a handful difference is that many possessions difference in the game, that many more shots. So the mindset certainly had an impact coming out in the third quarter. With over 100 combined NBA Final Games appearances combined for the Warriors, it was obviously a different experience for them compared to the Celtics, with 0 combined NBA Final appearances for all of the members on their squad. It was very aggressive coming out in the first 5 minutes. Wiggins scored 8 points and was solid on the defensive end all night long. Steph Curry was double-teamed the second he touched the ball as the defensive strategy changed a little bit from the Celtics, and they certainly got some things figured out on the defensive end, from leaving him wide open several times in the first quarter and kind of messing him up a little bit in the second, where he only got a few shot attempts, and they clawed their way in and took the lead a little bit to just double teaming him and from the catch and just disrupting him in the third quarter. He did drill a nice 3, which made you think he got his rhythm back. He also had one swiped away by Robert Williams and punched up in the air. Jason Tatum continued to have a hard time making shots. He went to the free throw line and knocked down a couple, but he started 0 for 3 and just continued to struggle. The Warriors did go up 71-64. They were able to gradually inflate that lead. It was 87-72 after 4 3-pointers were hit in a 30-second span by Jordan Poole, Derek White, Otto Porter, then Al Horford, as they were just hitting threes back and forth at one point. But the game really slowed down in the back end of the third. Shooting percentages fell as we had some wild exchanges and back and forths. Free throw attempts went up, 18 free throw attempts in the third quarter after 10 total in the first half. The Warriors' edge on the offensive glass, 11-6, and they had 5 more 3-pointers, started to add up a little bit as they outscored Boston 38-24 in the third quarter to take a 92-80 lead into the fourth, behind 12 points from Wiggins in the third quarter and 9 more from Curry. Boston had 5 players in the 12 to 15 point range, so a good distribution of scoring. Tatum was 3 for 15 in the game at that point with 12 points. So a number of different contributors, but again, top guy Jason Tatum could not get it going. I believe at this point the biggest lead had been, I believe it was 17 or 18 for the Warriors. And the Celtics just never let the lead get away. For the most part, in a lot of games, they'd shown the ability to crawl back throughout the playoffs. Not that they hadn't gotten blown out. Every team in the playoffs had gotten blown out at some point. Let's not forget the Warriors getting blown out by 50 points to the Grizzlies without Ja Morant at one of the games in that series. The Celtics didn't suffer a loss that bad at any point, but they'd certainly been blown out. This game didn't quite feel like it'd ever get to that point. So in the fourth quarter, with Curry resting and Wiggins on the bench as well, the Celtics really ripped into the lead. They went on a 7-0 run that turned into a 9-0 run and cut the lead all the way down to 3. Brown scored 10 of his 24 points in the fourth quarter, in the first 4 or 5 minutes actually, to really ignite that run, and he got Robert Williams involved in a big dunk as well. They tied the game at 103 at the 5:30 mark and continued to just keep pushing from there as the Warriors couldn't find any offense even when they reinserted those two guys, Wiggins and Curry, back into the game. They were swarming Clay and Curry whenever they got their hands on the ball. They were ripping at them, stripping at them. So after the game was tied at 103, Derek White hit a couple of three-pointers. Al Horford went on an 8-0 run by himself. Hammer Horford to push the lead to 111 to 103. He, of course, broke the record for NBA preseason appearances in games without a finals appearance at 141. That streak is now broken. Draymond Green missed 2 free throws that didn't help. Steph Curry tweaked his ankle on a pump fake and started to look maybe a little tentative and have some issues there. That was probably too little too late in the last couple minutes of the game. Then Green committed a frustration offensive foul when he grabbed and just ripped at Tatum's jersey. No technical foul or anything was called there, but that was not a good look. And Marcus Smart turned around and hit back-to-back threes as well to push a run out to a 17-0 run and a 14-point lead before the Warriors finally scored their first bucket in, I believe, 5.5 minutes, with 1:10 remaining in the game. So the final score was 120 to 108. So at the end of the first quarter, the Warriors had a 4-point lead, and it was all Steph Curry, 21 points. He was on fire. He was hot, and the Celtics were hanging on, keeping it close. So it was the Steph Curry first quarter. Second quarter, nothing going for Curry. Nothing going for Tatum at any point in this game. Celtics hang around. Different story. We're kind of played to a stalemate. Celtics outscored them by 6, and we go in with a tight game at the half. Celtics up 2 points. Very exciting. We're not sure what's going to happen going into the second half. Third quarter, we come out. Very aggressive to start. Game slows down a little bit in the back end of the third quarter, which we've been getting a lot of in some of these games, which have been very physical. And quite frankly, both of these teams can get a little reckless with turning the ball over. Turnovers weren't too wild in this game, but they can certainly get a little crazy sometimes. We'll see games from both of these teams probably in the finals where they'll hit 20 turnovers. I don't think either one had more than 11 or 12 in this game. Although the last couple minutes of the fourth quarter turned into garbage time, as it turned out, and desperation throws. There really was no coming back for the Warriors at all at a certain point here. Really, the last 3-4 minutes were pretty much it. You knew the writing was on the wall. There was no, let's foul and try to get back in this type of deal. It was just done. They had nothing left. But the third quarter turned into the Warriors pushing a lead close to 20, but not quite getting there, taking a 12-point lead into the fourth quarter, and then just the sledgehammer in the fourth quarter. That was a combination of 9 of 12 3-point shooting from the Celtics, no points coming from the Warriors. Al Horford had a career high, 6 of 8 from 3, career high in any game for him. The Celtics outscored the Warriors 40-16, 24 points. That was a tie for the greatest point differential in a quarter in an NBA Finals game. So just a crazy turn of events all of a sudden to just get railed on like that. The Celtics finished 21 of 41 from 3. 51% shooting. And they shot 50% from the field as well. Horford ended up leading the team with 26 points. Jaylen Brown had 24, 10 of them in the fourth, of course. Derek White had 25, including 5 3-pointers, and was just a pest and a bully defensively. He's going to be an excellent piece in this series, especially because the Warriors don't have as much size, and Derek White can certainly be a contributor in pushing the guards around. Jason Tatum finished 3 for 17 on the game. 3 for 17. That's 17% shooting with 12 points. He did contribute 13 assists, especially in setting up a few of the 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. Smart had 18. He was 4 for 7 from 3, and he looked like the player of the game through the first 3 quarters. And, of course, in that fourth quarter, then everyone was contributing and dumping in games, and it really looked like Al Horford was the player of the game as we came out at the end there. Peyton Pritchard also had 8 off the bench. He was a little sloppy coming in, I thought, but he looked a little better towards the end of the game and hit a big 3 as well. 6 boards for him as well. Robert Williams, 8 points, 6 boards, and 4 blocks. And Derek White actually finished with the best plus-minus on the team at plus 25. The Warriors on the other end, leading scorer was Curry, who finished with 35 on 7 of 14 shooting from 3. He was 12 of 25 overall from the field. Wiggins finished with 20. Wiggins was solid. He was 8 for 15 from the field. He was second in shot attempts, only 2 for 7 from 3. But he also had 5 rebounds as well, and he's solid defensively. He's going to be a big piece of how they are able to defend in this series. Otto Porter had 12 points on 4 for 5 shooting. Klay Thompson had 15. He was 3 for 7 from 3, 6 for 14 from the field. Draymond Green was a dumpster fire, a horrific showing. 2 for 12 from the field with 16 points. He had 3 turnovers as well. He did have 11 rebounds, 3 of them offensive, and 5 assists. Kevin Looney was huge, 9 rebounds, 6 of them offensive. 6 offensive rebounds, 5 assists, only 4 points, 1 of 4 from the field shooting, and he ended up with a -2 plus-minus. Draymond ended up with -1. So their contributions outside of the non-scoring is just tremendous. And Otto Porter ended up with a -18 as not outside of his 3-point shooting wasn't a great contributor. And Jordan Poole, no surprise, a -19, 1 of 5 from 3, 2 for 7 from the field overall, 4 turnovers, and just looked like a little boy amongst men out there, unfortunately. 12-7 offensive rebound edge went to the Warriors, which looked like a real asset to help them win, and in the end made it look like a much better score than maybe it would have been, helping them get a few extra possessions out of the game. Because they did end up losing the rebound battle by a handful of boards. The Warriors shot 19 of 45 from 3. It's 42% and 44% from the field. Normally excellent percentages, of course, but they just got crushed in the fourth quarter. So game 2 isn't until Sunday. We got 2 days off here, 3 days off here until the next game. Thankfully, we have a little bit more of a break for these guys to rest up. We didn't get as much break time in the Eastern or Western Conference Finals. It's not as enjoyable for us viewers, but it certainly helps the players heal up and give time for adjustments. So this is a series that is far from over, but the Warriors certainly need to find offense. Steph Curry can't be the only one that's scoring points. He can't be the only one that's handling. Gary Payton did not come back for the game. I presume he'll be available maybe Sunday or in the next few games here. Porter was also questionable, but of course played in this game. Iguodala was questionable, available for this game. They're really just missing Gary Payton. But offense seems to be the problem right now. If they can get Poole more involved, more comfortable, and not just mugged on the defensive end and get him loose. Klay Thompson just had problems. Of course, he's more of a catch and shoot. He did create a few of his own shots as well. But they just need to get guys open, whether it's moving downhill, whether it's getting out. The transition is really where the difference is. The half court is not where they're going to find a ton of success. So it's going to start for them on the defensive end, I believe, but they're going to have to figure some things out in the half court as well. And that's where they really got slowed down in this game, it seems like. So they're going to have to find offense somewhere else, whether it's Wiggins contributing, taking more shots. He hit 2 baskets right at the beginning of the game, hit a couple shots at the beginning of the third quarter, and was kind of sporadic other than that. So he just needs to be more involved in the game plan, I think. Of course, he's contributing a lot of energy on the defensive end, but I think it would be important to get him involved in the offensive end as well, because Poole just isn't quite there, and they're just quite not getting all the shooting that they need. Draymond is a complete loss on the offensive end of the floor, but he's important to what you do. So if you have Draymond on the floor, you effectively have 4 offensive players around him: Clay, Curry, Wiggins, and if you put Poole out there, then you're sacrificing size, which was a problem in this game a little bit, as Robert Williams at times was switched out onto Steph Curry, and that was kind of a coin flip battle at times, as they brought help out for Williams as well. Certainly a matchup that Curry could still win against a much bigger man, but they just have to figure out how they can exploit some weaknesses here. So I'm very excited to see how the rest of the series plays out, what adjustments can be made. The Warriors have to be terrified that Jason Tatum had such a garbage game as well, but it certainly seems like the ceiling seems to be much higher for the Celtics right now. I thought they were the best of the teams remaining when we got to the Final Four. I had them picked to go to the finals and ultimately lose to the Suns in 7 games. But, I thought that could go either way when I made my predictions coming into the playoffs. I thought they were the best team in the East. I thought they might be the best team in the NBA. But regardless, this is an impressive run since the All-Star break for the Celtics, who I believe were 28-7 after the All-Star break. And just prior, they were talking about how breaking up the roster might be a possibility. Tatum and Brown couldn't play together. This team isn't going anywhere. They were hovering right around 500. Signing Marcus Smart to an extension and making him the starting point guard was a mistake. So it's great that they've been able to put things together, and they're a top defensive team in the league, and they've made a run all the way back to the finals here. The Warriors, of course, can certainly still turn it around, and it'd be great to see these guys get their 4th ring, which would tie Steph and Clay and Green with LeBron James at 4 rings each. And we'll see all the narratives around where would this put Steph Curry on the Mount Rushmore of great NBA players. So excited for Game 2 on Sunday. I believe it's at 8 o'clock on ABC.
All my blessings, 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 all my blessings.
I need my blessings every penny, daily counting every single one, I'm seeing plenty.